Welcome, and thanks for joining. Today we'll talk about how omnichannel communications can help you increase revenue and drive customer engagement. We'll also address some common misconceptions and share how market leaders are using it to fuel their growth. I'm Joe Malanchini. I manage the business development group here at Elixir. My team talks to people every day about communications topics like this, so if you have any questions, please ask away in the chat. Three of my teammates will be sharing their expertise today. Greg is one of our account executives with more than 15 years of experience in the communications industry and a special talent for creating partnerships between different departments and stakeholders. Brent is one of our solutions architects. He has hands-on experience implementing digital transformations and uses this to help our customers modernize their own processes. Mohammed Abrar is the director of our consulting services group. He works directly with our customers to ensure that our solutions deliver impactful results. Thanks, team, for joining.
Thanks, Joe, and thanks, Brent and Abrar, for joining us today. So the term omnichannel was first used in the retail industry back in 2013, so about 10 years ago. And it appeared in a Forrester research report describing an omnichannel approach as one that seamlessly integrates sales channels to provide shoppers with a single unified experience across all touch points. Since then, the term omnichannel has become widely used across various industries, including healthcare, finance, telecommunications, to describe an approach to customer engagement that prioritizes a consistent, personalized experience across all channels and touch points. So today, we're going to talk about omnichannel in terms of engagement. We will look at the available delivery channels for your customer communications and talk about the pros and cons of each. So let's start off by talking about some of the advantages of digital delivery. So one of the first advantages is the ability to measure digital interactions versus print. Brent, what are some of your thoughts around measurability of digital communications?
Sure. Yeah, I have many. So having a background in business intelligence, specifically working with Six Sigma's DMAIC model, if you're doing an initiative and the first thing that you look at isn't defining and outlining what you're going to measure, you're wasting an opportunity to find out how effective you are. So, it's the year 2023. If you're not using digital delivery and digital trails to be able to find out how effective you are, you're really missing out.
Yeah. And, when I think about print versus digital, it's just so much easier to immediately measure, was it received? Did it bounce? Did it get to the right person? And I know there's technology starting to reveal itself where you can actually measure effectiveness of a communication in that you can tell, did the customer or did the member read through the document, or how far through the document did they get? One of the other areas that I think is a big advantage is operational efficiency. Printing and mailing a communication takes by far the most time and resources when it comes to delivering a communication. And when you think about all the steps that have to happen, typically you're sending it to a third party to print, then it's loaded onto a truck or an airplane, and then, it's got to be delivered to the final location. So on a truck again, so the process takes days compared to digital, which takes seconds. And the other thing I think about when it comes to operational efficiency is if a mistake happens. If you mail a communication and there was something inaccurate, you got to go through that entire process again and mail the new version.
Yeah, you're spot on, Greg. The error-prone nature of manually printing, trying to review all of that printed material, the vendors that have to be involved, how many steps it takes to be able to get that just into the mail and then in front of the customer. And then to your point, if you make a mistake, it's not only time consuming and takes people off of projects and things that they need to be focusing on to then decide what the response is and put together that correspondence, but you just doubled the cost of sending that piece, right? Because now you have to send it to everybody again and go back through the time consuming process of getting another piece in the mail.
Yeah. What about real-time feedback? I know feedback is one of the advantages of digital communications. What are some of your thoughts around the ability to get feedback?
Yeah, this is one of those areas that really excites me. So, as a business intelligence analyst, that's my background. Being able to do things with data, letting data lead you to making better strategic decisions is, something that gets me out of bed in the morning. So taking CRM data, customer metadata, not only deciding what's the most effective communication or marketing graphics to put on that, but going through that real-time feedback loop of knowing if they got it, because if you put something in the mail, you have no idea, one, if it even shows up in their mailbox, two, if they're going to open it. So having that real-time delivery data that they got it, they clicked on it, I know how much time they spent on the page reading it or accessing the document, and kind of where they went on our website from there, allows you to be able to tailor the experience and really drive that feedback loop.
Yeah, you're kind of flying blind when you deliver via print and mail.
Yeah, I don't know why an organization wouldn't want to do it. It's kind of like getting a really cool birthday present, and then you just leave it in the box and put it on the shelf and kind of look at it once in a while. But you got to
Then,
unpackage it and use it.
yeah, yeah. And then the other big advantage, and this is probably the one that garners the most attention, is lower costs, right? So print by far is the most expensive delivery channel. And if a company's looking to lower costs, this is the place to look. When you think about all the different processes that we kind of described above, putting it on a truck or a plane and waiting days for it to get delivered, there's also the consumables that add lots of cost. You've got the paper, the ink, the envelope, postage, the cost of outsourcing it to a print vendor. So yeah, the costs are much lower when it comes to digital delivery.
Not only that, but you have to think about the resource planning that goes into having people review the content, to go through the approval cycle. Marketing has to be involved, and compliance, and you have to have management reviews and all these things where you just schedule weeks of effort that go into that. Being able to reduce that and get it in the hands of the client faster and make that feedback loop a lot quicker has a lot of value.
So we've touched on a couple advantages. There are more, but those were some of the main ones we wanted to cover. But there are some concerns when it comes to digital delivery. When you're sending sensitive information via digital channel like personal health information, companies get a little squeamish when it comes to that. Can you give us your thoughts on those types of security concerns?
Yeah, absolutely. It's the digital age. So if security isn't in the forefront of your mind and your biggest concern with your customers, then it needs to be, right? But at the same time, things have been simplified greatly. The security risks that existed 10 years ago have been drastically minimized today. So if you think about organizations like Amazon's AWS and Microsoft Azure, these teams have people working 24/7. They have budgets like in the hundreds of millions of dollars that's focused just on security, making sure that you have a safe, secure experience. So traditionally, our customers that exist in regulated spaces like healthcare and finance, they have a lot of security requirements that we need to address up front and make sure that those are resolved. So it is very important to think about, but we've also mitigated a lot of those risks.
Yeah, speaking of those regulations, there are two main ones I kind of wanted to mention here. There is the Graham-Leach Bliley Act, or GLBA, that regulates financial institutions, and then there's HIPAA for healthcare providers and payers. Now, neither of those prohibit electronic delivery. GLBA states that you need to give customers the option to opt out of electronic delivery. And HIPAA does have a section called the HIPAA security rule, which does establish, excuse me, some standards for security of electronic PHI. But it's pretty straightforward. It's encryption. You got to encrypt it, and you got to have audit controls.
Yeah. And it's interesting. So they allow for those things, but there's some autonomy over which security standards you use. You just need to make sure that you have one and that it's well vetted. For example, in healthcare space, high trust is one of the standards. In e-commerce, SOC 2 is one of the standards. So a lot of cloud providers like Amazon, AWS, they make sure that they meet those standards and that everything that they do is secured and in an environment that's safe. But then what vendors you bring into their environment need to follow those standards as well.
Ah, good point. You know, the last one that I hear is there's concern around the technical complexity of adding all these different digital channels. You know, up until recently, I think sending communications over these digital channels did require that you kind of add some new tech stacks to your customer communications operations. But I think now with the more modern platforms, all of that's built right in, right?
Yep. Yeah, and to kind of close the loop on security, and then I'll actually take us into a connector example. It's interesting to think about where we're at with technology, sending healthcare information, right? So you have a HIPAA protected document, and I have no way of knowing if the person's going to get it. Once I get it, I could leave it out on my desk. Somebody could steal it, from the trash after the fact, right? As opposed to being digital and in the cloud, I have a lot of mechanisms to be able to track and audit what's exposed, who had access to it for how long, who was affected, and to be able to do those things. So when we're thinking about the technical complexity that existed 10 years ago, that was a monumental effort to be able to do those things, right?
Right.
Your IT staff would have to be, a very deep bench. A lot of these things are just out of box now. They're just standard. So I want to walk you through really quick. I'm going to pull open my demo system and I'll show you a use case. So one of the things that we've been talking a lot about lately is, printed materials and trying to reduce that cost. And one use case that has really honed in on this is in healthcare, digital ID cards, specifically dental insurance. You're pretty hard pressed to find a dental provider that doesn't have a digital ID card these days. And one of those reasons is because it's so expensive to print and laminate and stick it on a page, right? You have to glue it and then put it in the mail and send it to them and hope that they get it. You could be looking at, upwards of $1.50 per piece. And if you're a major provider and you have a couple million members, that's a lot of money.
Yeah.
So it better be done right. So every person that you can get to the cloud and do digital delivery is money in your pocket. So why wouldn't you want to explore that, right?
Absolutely.
Okay, so I should be sharing my screen here. You can verify for me if it's showing up.
It's coming up. I'm going to turn my camera off so you've got more screen space here.
I still see my the presentation screen for some reason.
It's coming. It's just lagging a little bit.
Okay. So the use case that I want to walk through is how to notify that customer that we've sent their digital ID card to them, right? Because to your point, if we're operating inside healthcare or finance, we just have to be able to prove that the digital communication got to them. And that's really like, we want to make sure, being customer centric, we want to make sure that they got it.
I think your screen sharing may have stopped, Brent.
Yeah, it dropped and it gave me a box here that says it's waiting.
Let's just give it a second. So when you get this up, I think the plan is you're going to show how easy it is to add a digital channel or two.
Yeah, so at this point in technology, these out-of-box connectors should be pre-built. They should be easily configurable. We shouldn't have to bring in a lot of vendors to be able to do this.
Yeah, it should be built right in. I think we're having some demo system troubles.
Yeah, my Google Chrome right now says that it's unresponsive. So this is what we face when we do these live webinars. Certain amount of risk is assumed.
Always. And it's like, Newton's law that it'll go bad.
Yeah.
Dang. I think we're going to have to do it over.
Well, I think we can possibly try.
There we go. It is up now.
Okay, so we'll pick
can
up.
See it.
Great. So the use case I want to set up here is that we are going to send a text notification to a customer and let them know that their digital ID card is available. Okay.
Got it.
So we're going to use Twilio as a partner that we work with. We also do Vonage SMS text notifications. Twilio is a third party that they take care of the SMS delivery. So instead of having to write code to be able to send a text message from our system, we're just going to partner with Twilio. So our customers, they start a Twilio account, and Twilio provides them with this service URL, which is specific to them as a customer. And then we choose the protocol method that we're going to send, not to geek out too much. And then here on this tab, they provide us a security key or an authorization key. So we plug in that authorization key, and this takes care of that like encrypted handshake between us and Twilio. So now when a text message shows up, it's verified as a secured provider for, let's say, we're we're Elixir Dental Healthcare. So now it's going to show up from them with their name on it. It's
so step one is add a digital channel. And here you just added SMS texting.
Yep.
Cool.
So now that I have that channel, I'm going to switch over here to our Logic Studio. Each of these tiles kind of represent a piece of the process, connecting our CRM data, the design for the template, and our outputs. So this final brown tile over here on the far right, these are our delivery nodes. So I'm just going to take that SMS text notification for Twilio that I created, and I'm going to choose the connector type as SMS, and I'm going to drop it over here, and I'm going to connect it to this workflow. So now my first attempt is going to be to deliver an email. The second one's going to be an SMS text notification. And I want to finish this before we go on to something else so you can see how quick and easy it is. So here in the records database, I can choose that database, and I can see all of the individual fields that have been mapped.
So is that like connecting to your CRM?
Yep. Each one of these fields is a field in the CRM.
Cool.
So like I have, the account number, account names. I can pull out an email address, first name, last name, whatever I want.
Phone number for this, obviously, right?
Yep. So I'm going to drop in phone number, and what the customer is going to get is a template message. So the same message is going to be delivered to everyone, but each customer obviously is going to get their own text message. So your ID card is ready. And then I'm going to include a URL. So Elixir Dental, and I'm going to direct them directly to the login page. So the reason is, this is going to be a qualified link that they can tap on when they get the message. I don't want to give them the URL directly to the document because that's a layer of security that we don't want to deal with. So this will log them in. Once they're logged in, they can access Elixir Dental's member portal, and they can go right to their inbox and see their specific information.
Cool. So that's it. That's all it
That's
took.
it. Yep. That's as complicated as it is. I can add this check mark to approve workflow so that somebody goes in and they will kind of verify and vet that this batch of text notifications is ready to go out. This is more useful when you're sending out emails that have a lot of content on it.
Sure.
Text notifications they tend to be very simple.
Cool.
So that's it. I've got that set. So I'm going to switch back over to the Logic Studio. So now we have kind of two chains here. This bottom one, I'm generating a PDF, and I'm going to put it in a folder that's a web archive. So it's in the cloud. They can access this from their member or customer portal. This notification is going to tell them that that's ready and that they can go log in and find it, right? But I can also do this intelligently. So if they don't have a phone number in the system, but they have an email address in the system and they've elected for digital delivery, I want to try email first. So when I have email, and sorry, I actually just deleted the email field. So we'll show you how easy it is to add it back. So there's my email field. I'm currently using the email output that we did on a previous webinar when we were demonstrating how to do intelligent marketing. So it's just going to use that HTML file, but I could go ahead and I could do an inline message. AP card is ready. And I can do the same thing.
So again, in this example, you're just putting in a link to a secure portal. They have to enter their credentials, kind of solving for that security, concern that's out there.
Yep. Yeah. So, the customer's IT or web team, their customer experience is already, taking care of all the security aspects, making sure that their member ID and their user ID match up. So they're not going to see anything that they're not supposed to see. Cool. So this is just, again, another notification method. So this is going to go directly to them. They're going to log in and they're going to be able to access their ID card. So what we're creating here is a business intelligent feedback loop. So we're working through steps of the workflow. If they didn't get the email, if it bounces back or it's not deliverable, we're going to try text notification. If text notification failed, then we know that it's available digitally. They might be able to pick it, but we have to send them a notification. So we're going to go ahead and print either the letter or the ID card itself as the last resort.
Oh, that's cool. So is that whole workflow automated then? You don't need to do no human intervention?
Yep. And each of these steps is scheduled. So I can have it go out at midnight. So maybe we submitted the ID cards at 9 a.m. By 9:30, they're ready to go out. We give you the time to review it, and then it starts stepping through the process at midnight.
So I see email there. I see archive, which is also kind of equivalent to portal. Was dragging those and dropping those pretty much as simple as the SMS stuff was?
Yeah,
pretty much drag and drop.
Yeah, so I'll show you the archive is just the secure FTP address, and we've already created the connector that has the FTP login credentials. So all you have to do is add it like that, and it was just like adding the SMS node.
Cool. Now, we've shown the example of just sending a link that directs them to a secure portal. What if I wanted to send the communication and the actual PDF document in the email? Is there a way to secure that?
Yeah. So good point, because this is being delivered directly to the cloud. So we know our AWS security, is going to take care of that. But if I wanted to generate a PDF version that's attached to email, because there are use cases where we would want to do that, the ID card, for example. So the first step is that instead of sending all, maybe 1 million cards, we want to split it. So that's the first thing, is that we split this. So it's an individual PDF. And then over here on the security tab, we have the option to encrypt the output turned on. And so it's actually going to use the encrypted password from the CRM to encode this file. So as a vendor, we never actually see the customer's password. And actually, our customer never gets to see the end user's password because it's encrypted. So that encrypted hash is applied, and then the PDF is generated accordingly. So it's secured, and when we send it out, we know that it's safe.
Wow. So basically a click of a button.
Yep.
Wow. All right. Well, I feel like that kind of has addressed the technical complexity concerns, right? It looks pretty straightforward, easy, simple, and the security concerns that we discussed earlier.
And from an audit and compliance, because you have IT security and you have compliance that are involved here, right? So the last step is that we package all of the information with the date and time stamps, and we deliver that information to the customer as well. So this is really what you're looking for in a modern ComOps system. Whatever you choose to do, just make sure that you've intelligently thought through the feedback loop and that you've satisfied all of the possible scenarios. So
Awesome.
we've done some pretty cool things. I think we're going to turn it over to my partner Abrar and explore some of the arguably even cooler stuff that we've been able to do with the platform.
Yeah. Thanks, Brent. I appreciate you taking the time to show us that. So we're going to talk about a customer that came up with this very innovative idea to use a social media platform to engage with their customers. Remember, we're talking about engagement. This actually also goes towards sales as well. So on the next slide, we're going to talk about the social media app that they use. It's called WeChat. Now, there's nothing like WeChat in the US. WeChat is essentially dominant in China. But if you think of it as a social media app that has Twitter, PayPal, Uber, Instagram, your bank account, and your utility company connection all in the same app, that's kind of what WeChat is. There really isn't anything like it in the US. So I wanted to just sort of spend a little time telling you about WeChat if you're not familiar. I wasn't, because that'll help make this make a little bit more sense. So with that, Ebrar, can you tell us a little bit about what you did out at Manulife and what happened?
Thank you so much, Greg. Yeah, sure. If we move to the next slide, um, as you have mentioned that we did this project with one of our customers in mainland China. So you may want to know how it all started. It all started with the vision of Roy Gori, who was the president and CEO of Manulife Asia. He declared 2016 the year to build an innovative partnership ecosystem. And his statement, I'll quote, I want to open Manulife's doors and invite outside innovators and even disruptors to take a look at how we operate and suggest better ways to do things. So basically, partnering up with the vendors, showing them how they're currently doing their operations, and work together to identify gaps and improve upon things, and embrace a new technology to better serve their
That's
customers.
very interesting, Ebrar. So he brought in a bunch of outside vendors and basically held a collaborative brainstorming session.
Yeah, that's right. So just to give you a perspective of the company that worked on this thing, Manulife China, as per as of October 2016, they had over 900,000 customers in China. They had issued 2 million life insurance policies and had made 1.2 billion in RMB, which translates to approximately $176 million in cumulative claim payouts. So overall, these figures demonstrate that Manulife China is a major player in the Chinese life insurance market. So there were some business goals that we set before starting work on this project. So these business goals were to bring customer centricity, enhance the overall operational efficiency and risk control, integrate with the Beijing Certificate Authority to digitally sign a policy to lift operational efficiency and better meet compliance requirements. Um, Also, to extend to more touch points and cover more channels like print, email, FTP, and of course WeChat, and reach a larger target audience. So Elixir Technologies partnered up with Manulife China and developed the solution for digital policy issuance. Um, though this was not the first initiative, but this was a new initiative, new digital initiative, which Manulife China undertook. They were doing some marketing campaigns over WeChat since 2015, but they felt that they need more to offer uh, to stand out from the competition. So their first digital policy was rolled out in April 2016, which offered policies for pregnant women and small babies. So we used this super app called WeChat. WeChat is the top social messaging app in China with over 1.24 billion monthly active users worldwide as of September 2021. And many organizations use this super app WeChat for marketing and customer services. So we embarked on a journey to improve customer experience. And this digital transformation initiative was to stay ahead of this competition and potentially bring more revenue and enhance customer experience. So, in order to support this initiative or this project, they set up a digital organization within Manulife. They set up cross-functional project teams that included people from different teams like product development, sales, marketing, IT, and operations. There is also a service innovation department that oversees all the projects related to innovation, including WeChat projects. Um, so let's talk about the challenge that they gave us for this project.
Yeah, I want to hear more about that.
Sure.
Next slide.
Next slide. So, as you can see, the challenge that they gave us, or we set before the start of this project, was a 90 seconds challenge. Um, since it was an exploratory project and part of the company's attempt to move further into digital channel, they did not set any sales target as it was an exploratory project at that time, and it focused more on the customer experience. So setting the goal that the entire process should be completed within 90 seconds from the time customer starts entering personal information to the time digital policy is generated and delivered to the customer. So there is a background or a logic or a rationale behind this thought process. The rationale is that people have shorter attention spans and little patience over the digital channel. So overall, this 90-second was a tough requirement as customer data entry, payment, it may take up to 60 seconds, leaving only 30 seconds for the policy issuance to perform the review, approval, composition of the contract, and delivery. Um, and that included digital signatures, the integration that I talked about before with Beijing Certificate Authority, the email to the client, an SMS, as well as the WeChat delivery. So it was a big leap forward from traditional to the digital. Um, Previously, the customer had to visit a branch office to fill in the form, make a payment, and wait for 3 weeks to for the contract to be delivered. So this 90-second challenge was focused on customer experience, so that the entire process should be completed within 90 seconds. And we were able to achieve this target and to achieve this challenge. And we also got a Gartner recognition in the form of a case study published by Gartner in 2017 January. And on the screen, you can also see the URL of that Gartner's article, and you're welcome to read all the details about that.
Ebrar, this is incredible. 90 seconds to not only deliver a contract, but have it received, reviewed, and approved. That is disruptive. So how did it turn out? Did it work well?
Next slide, please. I'll show the details of the ROI that we were able to get from this whole initiative. Um, since it was mainly focused on customer experience, so the overall success of the project was phenomenal. Manulife China was able to get 18,000 new customers in the first month after they rolled out this digital policy.
Wow.
Their individual policy applications increased or by more than 95% compared to their online platform. 96% of the customers who used the service gave five out of five ratings for the services, and the overall company observed three times as many customers using the services provided on WeChat platform compared to its official website.
Wow.
So there was a lot of traffic increase on this WeChat platform, and most importantly, the goal of 90 seconds was achieved from the time the customer starts entering personal information to the time digital policy is generated and delivered. So it was a big performance improvement from a 3 weeks time period to a policy digitally generated, signed, and delivered to the customer under 90 seconds.
Wow. What an exciting project to be a part of. You know, what's interesting,
That's true.
is this happened in 2016, right? This was a long time ago. So talk about, the CEO of just having that innovative mindset. I liked how he brought in, expertise from the outside to collaborate, and then he built cross-functional teams internally to execute on this. Just a super, super exciting story. Thank you, Ibrar, for sharing that with us.
You're welcome. And I would like to add one more thing, or the last thing is that the key to success for this project was the openness, the vision of the CEO of the company to invite someone from the outside, like vendors, to open up in front of them, sharing the internal operational details, and being open to the gaps, and then working in partnership with the vendors, setting up internal teams to achieve the targets. That was the key to success.
Ah, very exciting. Very exciting. Well, I think that kind of wraps up our presentation on Omnichannel. Did we by chance get any questions that came in, Joe?
We did. We did get a handful of questions. The first one that came through was, what if only a small percentage of your customers or members sign up for digital channels?
Ah, that's a very good question, and that does happen. A lot of the folks we work with, one comes to mind, only has about 18% of their members, it's a healthcare payer, that have opted in for digital. So, great question. Um, we have helped customers create business cases, right, to kind of bring to management so that we can get some funding for marketing campaigns because you can't just turn on digital and expect everybody to flock to a digital channel, right? You have to promote it, you have to incentivize it. Um, Brent, I think you said you got to socialize it, right? So
Yeah, it's
that,
social awareness.
yeah, so that is a component that you do not want to leave out of this, transition more to digital channels. You definitely have to promote. Great question.
And I think Greg's thinking of the same client that I'm thinking of in healthcare. It's every percent that we move them, their customers, to digital represents almost $100,000.
Yes.
So they definitely have an incentive in trying to get customers to move toward a digital experience. We try to make it as easy as possible. In the CRMs, we know who's using digital and who's not based on who's enrolled or who has a username. And then we can make it super easy. So the people that haven't on the printed materials, we're going to start doing a marketing campaign. So we'll put, a QR code so that they can just hit that, create a username, and they're set up and ready to go in 3 to 5 minutes, or a very simple URL address that they can go to start the process. So you want to make it as easy as possible for them, otherwise they're just not going to gravitate toward it. But that
Mm.
awareness is the first piece.
And what if a company's CCM that they're using doesn't support digital? Would it be best to add something with that capability to their tech stack or look at a CCM platform entirely to replace it that does have digital capabilities?
So I know right off the bat, like everybody, thinks it's 2023. How could they not support digital? We talk to customers almost every day that they're on, a mainframe structure or something that just doesn't support that. So we have this conversation fairly regularly. So there's sometimes you can't remove that, but sometimes you need to at least strategically reevaluate who the vendors are and how you can bring in something more modern. Otherwise, you're just going to be doing this same old, print thing forever.
Yeah, I would say use that as an event to go evaluate CCM platforms, right? If push came to shove and you were stuck and you weren't going to invest in a new platform, I would probably add a disparate technology just so you could do it.
And so the use case that Ibrar was talking through is from the insurance industry. Are there any other verticals that are using this similar approach?
I haven't seen a lot of companies, and I'm surprised, use the social media platforms. I've seen them do email, SMS. Those are easy. But I would say every industry has use cases. Healthcare is a big one. Utilities. Any company that sends out monthly statements, I think, is a candidate.
Yeah, and we have some customers that are more like e-commerce space that are able to maneuver that a lot more easily than like in healthcare and finance, where they're a little more regulated, and the roadmap is maybe 12 months to 18 months, so it's a little bit trickier to stage and to navigate those waters. But yeah, we have customers doing innovative things all the time.
And Brent, in your demo, you showed how to add those different delivery channels, from the back end setup side, but what would that opt-in look like from the perspective of a customer?
Pretty much exactly what I showed you. So there's, I guess, on the Twilio is a good example. So you have to enroll with a partner to deliver something like that. In email, it's a lot easier because if you're online, you already have an Exchange server or an SMTP email server. So it's really easy to connect and make sure that it's delivered from your email domain. But Greg, you can maybe share some of the the information on what enrollment with a partner like Twilio looks like in terms of dollars and cents. But in terms of connectability, at this point in technology, we're just making it easier and easier each month.
Yeah, and from the customer perspective, typically, an email campaign that's asking if you want to opt in to email or whatever digital channel you're trying to get them to opt into. Brent mentioned you can do QR codes to make it super simple, like scan this QRC code and you've opted in. So getting, from the customer's perspective, getting them to opt in is very simple, but you do have to make a concerted effort to drive people to these new channels.
Greg, you had shared with me previously an actual monetary figure of what it costs to send text notifications on like a large scale.
Yeah, so Twilio cost roughly half a cent per text message. And then obviously if you compare that to email or to print and mailing, you're talking 19 cents kind of at a minimum, all the way up to 50 cents per letter, depending on the size and where it's going. So cost-wise, texting is just a no-brainer compared to print.
Yeah,
so
it's a huge savings.
Well, I think that's all the time we have. I appreciate everybody coming out. Joe, do you want to close us out?
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks again for our panelists to come in here today and share their expertise, and for our listeners to joining today. We hope you'll join us again for a future webinar. If anyone has any follow-up questions about today's subject or any other communications topics, please feel free to reach out to us. Thank you.
Thanks, everybody.
Thanks, Joe.